Hello traders, Greg here with a market update. Okay, to start this week, we've seen a big move in crude oil. So crude oil is down 2% Monday and down a good 5% yesterday. So down 7% so far to start this week. So what's been happening there? So we got headlines yesterday that Trump has asked the Pakistani mediators, and they've gone back to Tehran to try to get a deal with the US and Iran, basically where the US would lift their sanctions and lift the economic D-Day, that the new strategy of trying to strangle Iran economically for them reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Anytime traders hear of diplomacy back at work, they sell crude immediately and don't wait for the results of that diplomacy. So yes, crude was hit a lot lower. But then, like New York, we also got headlines that Russian media apparently has come out and said that US and Iran have come to a deal, and it would be announced in the next couple of days. So that headline then got more crude momentum selling. And crude, yes, down back towards $80. But look, a couple of things. I'd suggest that I would not be selling crude fresh short at these levels for a couple of reasons. One is that nothing has been confirmed with regards to this diplomacy being successful by either Iran or the US. We have been here before a few times or many times, and it has not played out successfully. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that we are sitting down towards some decent support for crude, $80 and below. And then also, look, it hasn't paid chasing crude, whether on the short side or the long side, after it has had a big move. But having said that, yes, look, it is very headline driven at the moment. So certainly need to be watchful for those headlines and what comes next. But in any case, look, the lower crude certainly has been welcomed by a number of markets. The first one is obviously the bond market. So in the bond market, we've had an issue with the long end US bond yields, basically trading at very elevated levels. The 30-year up to 20-year highs. I've had the US Treasury coming in, trying to get those yields lower with bond buyback, increasing that operation. But yes, lower crude has certainly got those yields lower. US 30-year yields down around about 15.15%. So a good 15-20 basis points off those 20-year highs that we've made recently. And US 10-year yields have backed away from trading above 4.7% back down towards 4.6%. So yes, the lower crude prices has taken away a lot of the stress from the bond market for the time being. But yes, the bond market does have some important economic data that comes out of the US tonight. That is the PCE inflation data for July. PCE is the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. So for the core PCE for July, market's looking for that to come out pretty much unchanged from the previous month, around about 3.3%. So look, obviously market at the moment, the last thing it needs is for that to come out above expectations. If that did happen, obviously it's going to drive those bond yields back higher again. And market's going to start thinking that obviously the Fed is probably going to have to hike rates. So yes, that coming out above expectations is going to be a risk negative for markets. But obviously markets will cheer a number that comes out below expectations. Sort of maybe pricing out a Fed rate hike and also getting those bond yields lower, which would be a risk positive. So certainly tonight that number, especially if it comes out above or below expectations, is a risk event for the market. The other market that obviously loves seeing crude lower and it's a risk positive for equity markets. So we did see US equities, S&P and NASDAQ indexes, up about 0.5%, but not big moves by any stretch of the imagination. And one of the main reasons why is that they are waiting for something very important, and that comes out after the close tonight in the US, and that is second quarter NVIDIA earnings. NVIDIA is probably the most important company on the exchange. For the simple reason it is now a $5 trillion company. It drives it's driven pretty much the AI narrative and the tech boom, and also equities higher. So no matter where equities end up on the close tonight, it's pretty much going to be irrelevant because NVIDIA, just the size of the company and its earnings, can certainly drive the market and also drive the AI narrative in the short term. So for equity traders, certainly got to watch out for those NVIDIA earnings after market closes. Here locally in Australia, we do have some important economic data that comes out, and that is the monthly inflation data for July. So market's looking for the trim mean year on year to come out slightly lower than the previous month, so going from 3.6 down to about 3.5%. So that'll be welcome. But the headline number, market is looking for a big move lower there, from 3.8% down towards about 3.2%. So look, if we do get those inflation numbers lower, especially that headline a lot lower, that's going to be very welcome by the local market, because we've got an RBA that still has a tightening bias, still sees that inflation risks to the upside. So getting those inflation numbers lower certainly is going to alleviate some of the stress, and with the RBA potentially having to hike again before the end of the year. So no doubt the ASX, if those numbers come out much lower, is going to be a positive. Might see some selling in the Aussie, but I'd suggest I might use that to buy the Aussie on the dips, because at the moment, obviously, the market has been in a sell US dollar mode. So yes, look, there's quite a lot on there economic data-wise. And finally, just precious metals. Look, they've been on an absolute tear, loving life. Market certainly is buying both gold and silver almost on a daily basis. We've got a new high for gold up towards 4,700 yesterday. And I'd suggest, okay, that's some short-term resistance, but the key level really is 4,800. At some stage, if we get above that, that's going to be very, very bullish, and we could have a run up to 5,000 very quickly. We did get some news out late in the day that the CIA director in the US had a unscheduled trip yesterday to Moscow. Speculation is that basically Putin is frustrated with what's going on with progress with the war with Russia and Ukraine, and potentially he is looking at now using bigger and more meaningful weapons. So if we're talking about a new big escalation in that war, that's something that gold obviously is going to it's going to be a tailwind for gold, and we could see it spike up again. So yes, at the moment, bias obviously has been long gold and buying dips. So look, a lot going on at the moment, but obviously all eyes are still on crude, and whether or not there is some sort of diplomatic agreement happening here. Obviously, if that again falls through or is fake news, obviously then we're going to see crude spike back up again. But look, let's see, headline-driven markets, so need to watch those. A lot of economic data and those NVIDIA earnings. So yes, a lot going on at the moment. Good luck with it all. We'll check back in with you shortly.